Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. And on the screen today, you're going to be watching some Modern Warfare gameplay. But today, I kind of wanted to talk about how Infinity Ward is trying to, I guess you could say, like, finesse everybody, or like smoke and mirrors kind of thing, where they're trying to make it seem like they're going to be the good guy. So let me explain. So first of all, when Modern Warfare was announced, obviously everybody got super hyped up. It was Modern Warfare, it was boots on the ground, it was no boost jumping. Everybody knows like the Modern Warfare series of games, right? So then, they came out with that, and then everybody was hyped up and everything, and then they came out with the trailer, or like the single player trailer, and it showed Captain Price, and he was smoking a cigar, and it seemed like, it was going to be the greatest game ever, and like, I don't want to be like a pessimist, and I don't want to say that the game's going to be trash or anything like that. I want the game to be good. I want to play a good Call of Duty game. It's just, I feel like everybody is too brainwashed, or too, like they're looking through the nostalgia goggles, and that's how they're looking at the game, right? And they're just looking at like, it's going to be Modern Warfare, and it's going to be boots on the ground, and it's going to be this, and it's going to be that, and then it's like they're not seeing, or they're not realizing what has happened for the past couple years with supply drops and DLC and guns and all this kind of stuff, and it's like people are just forgetting about it, and then when it actually happens, they're going to complain, and then for the next game, when it gets announced, they're going to forget about it, and then when it actually happens, they're going to complain, and it's just a cycle, right? It's just like the Call of Duty cycle. Where the game comes out, like the new game comes out, you play it for a little bit, then you say, this game's trash, and you go back to the other game, and then you say, that game was so good, and then when the new game gets announced, then everybody gets hyped up on that, and it's just a cycle, right? Every year it's a cycle. Obviously with like World War II and stuff like that, it definitely got improved, and that's one thing that they definitely did really well. And I feel like Infinity Ward is going to try and take that, they're going to try and do the same thing that Sledgehammer did. And what I mean by that is, obviously, like when World War II launched, the game was like super trash, right? It was 9 maps, and then it had the whole like division system, and you had to use a certain like class to use a silencer or something like that, and it was stupid, right? Like it was dumb. And then they obviously overhauled all of the divisions, and they basically made it so like it was like old Call of Duty. You could do whatever you want, you can make whatever you want. You didn't have to use a certain class to use a silencer, you didn't have to use a certain class to use Ghost or Dead Silence, or any of those types of things. And I feel like Infinity Ward is going to try and do that, and then they're going to make it seem like Activision is the bad guy, and they're trying to make the game good, but they can't, because Activision is obviously they're gonna have a say in everything, because Activision are obviously the people that publish the game, right? Without Activision and them investing their money and all that kind of stuff, there obviously wouldn't be any Call of Duty, right? Call of Duty would not exist. Spider-Man would not exist. I don't know, whatever other games would not exist, right? So at the end of the day, you kind of have to cater to what they want, and obviously they cater to their investors and all that kind of stuff, and it's all about money, and it's definitely messed up. It's all about money and all that kind of stuff. Nobody cares about the games. Nobody puts any effort in anymore. Like, you have a game, stuff gets cut out from the story, they make that DLC, they make you pay for the DLC, and then that's pretty much it. But it's like, I don't want the game to be bad. I want the game to be good. I want to play a good Call of Duty game, a game where I could play all year, because it's not fun paying $80 for a game that I'm going to play for like 3 months, and then the game's dead. So it's like, I want to get value out of my $80. And speaking of value, it doesn't really make any sense that I'm pretty sure everybody has heard of the Spec Ops news, and how Xbox and PC players are going to have to wait a whole year in order to play the Spec Ops mode, which doesn't make any sense, because you're charging people the same amount of money, and then they have to wait a whole year. So you're basically giving them an unfinished game compared to other people, Like, you're still charging them the same $80 or the same $60 or the same however much, you know, people pay for the game. Even if you get like the highest edition, I'm not sure what they call it anymore. You know, I'm like the only one I remember is when it was called a Prestige edition. Now it's like some, you know, operator advanced something, you know, whatever they call it. It's called a Prestige edition. That's it, right? There was the regular edition, there was the hardened edition, and then there was the Prestige edition, and you know, that was it. There's no need to overcomplicate anything like that. But anyway, back to the point. It's like, even people that are paying $150 or however much they're charging for it, they still have to wait a whole year in order to play Spec Ops. Like, you know, I understand that not that many people play Spec Ops, but you still have to like understand that in a business you can't be screwing over your customers, because at the end of the day, those are the people that allow you to stay in business. Those are the people that allow you to put food on the table. Those are the people that allow your kids to go to school and have clothes and have, you know, all these other kinds of things and iPads and whatever else you buy them, right? So it's like, how are you going to screw over your customers like that? It just doesn't make any sense to me. What really should happen is that the people on Xbox and PC and you know, Nintendo Switch or however many consoles that they're releasing this thing on, they should get some type of rebate, because they have to wait a whole year to play a certain game mode that PS4 people got to play on day one, which doesn't really make any sense to me. And then Infinity Ward is going to come out and try and, you know, like play good cop, bad cop, or bad cop, good cop, however you want to call it. And they're going to say, oh, well, you know, it's only like 1% of the game or some type of bullshit. And it's like, you know, don't do that. Like, it's just, you're still screwing over, you know, granted, it's not a lot of people, but it's still people. And I just don't, like, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with screwing over people, like, at all. And they're going to try and say, oh, you know, it's only 1% or whatever. But it's like, you know, don't do that. Because I understand that you probably didn't have a say in it. I understand that, you know, it was probably Activision's decision, because PlayStation paid Activision. I'm pretty sure that's how it works, to get, like, the exclusivity, or, you know, whatever you want to call it. And it's like, you know, like, let's just stop. You know, like, the news already came out, and then you saying that it's only 1% of the game is kind of like just throwing salt in the wound, and you're not helping the situation in any way. So it's like, I'm really confused as to what you're trying to do here, right? But then obviously there's been leaks that there's going to be classic maps coming back, and you know, like, all these other things are going to be shipment terminal rust, and like all these kinds of things, all these kinds of maps, and all these kinds of guns. And it's like, we should have expected this, because I mean, look at how many things were recycled in Black Ops 4 Summit, Jungle. You know, apparently they brought back the MSMC, or like, I don't really know what they brought back. I don't watch you know, any YouTube videos on it. I don't play the game obviously anymore. The game died for me back in like February, so you know, if you look at it, that's like, the game came out in October till February, it's like 4 months. So you know, then it goes back to the value thing, right? But you know, they brought back a bunch of things in Black Ops 4 from all the previous Black Ops games, and like, it's just turning into like a mashup of all the games. So that's basically what's gonna happen. You know, they brought back the COD 4 MP5. Well, you know, like, we could say it's a COD 4 MP5, or they could say it's a new one. You know, either way, it's the MP5. But I feel like this is just the start of the whole like recycled thing, and like, I think eventually everything is just going to turn into COD Online. And if you don't know what COD Online is, it's basically Call of Duty in China, because they don't have access to like regular Call of Duty. So there's COD Online, where it's just like a mashup of all the Call of Duty games. So you could play on like shipment with the Black Ops 1 FAMAS, and you know, like, all those kinds of things. It's just a mashup of like all the games. So that's basically what COD is going to turn into, right? So say for example, you know, next year is going to be Treyarch's turn, and then you're going to be using the FAMAS on like I don't know, Gridlock, or you know, something, right? It's just going to turn into a mashup. It's not even going to be anything like original anymore. It's just going to be another COD Online, and then that's basically what COD is going to be. And then COD's going to die, and then they're going to wonder why it did. And it's just going to be because all they did was come out with recycled content, and that was it. They didn't come out with anything original or anything like that. It was just all recycled content from what people came up with before, and then people eventually got tired of it, and then that was it. But yeah, that's pretty much it, man. You know, I don't want to have to take a blood pressure pill after this. I don't want to get into too much of a rant, so I am going to end it off there. As always, thank you for taking the time out of your day to watch my video. It's very much appreciated. All relevant links are down below. Thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you next one.